Hey you killed, I just bought 1,000 recoil cases. Do you think I will make a lot of profit with the investment? Sadly, this is not the first time that something like this has happened. Even though it should be clear that this is not smart to do, it still happens far too often. In this video we will discuss 10 mistakes CSGO investors often make that loses them huge amounts of money so you don't follow in their footsteps. At number 10 we have the example from the intro where the person bought 1,000 recoil cases, so why shouldn't you buy those cases? Well, it's quite complicated actually. You might say that the recoil case is an active duty case and because of that you shouldn't buy it, but that is not the whole truth. Some cases that are currently in the active duty drop pool could actually be great investments in the next little while. For example, the fracture case, which we discussed in this video to be the next case to be discontinued most likely. This case could do very well in the next year or two, since it has nice knives, okay skins, and almost any discontinued case has done well in the year or two after it was discontinued recently, so then why not buy the recoil case? Well, the recoil case is the newest case, which is why it is so expensive. Since a lot of people get hyped when a new case gets released, normally case prices drop off in price quite quickly after they are released, since the market is flooded with supply from people playing the game. As we can see here, the recoil case is still €1.22 and the Dreams and Nightmares case is still 72 cents. These are both very expensive for how old they are. The Dreams and Nightmares case, for example, is like 9 months old at this point, which is crazy old for a case that is still so expensive. With the past two cases, however, it seems as if the cases that were released were finally able to keep up with that giant supply as of right now, causing the cases to stay more and more expensive for even longer. That means the two newest cases are still slowly going down in price as they get dropped more and more and more. That is only true for the recoil case and the Dreams and Nightmares case, however, since the other cases in the active duty pool are already quite old and the price has already dropped to its lowest point because of a lot of supply back when there was less demand for those cases. If you want a case price to go up, like the recoil case for example, it needs to not be supplied millions of cases each month, so you need to wait until it becomes rare and new cases don't get discontinued immediately, as we saw in this video. Just don't buy the newest cases in CSGO, at least not for investing in. This also goes for the skins in them of course, but I digress. The number 9th biggest mistake is another mistake that is just not necessary, and a bit of information is all you need to not get scammed by Steam itself. When a new major comes around, Valve always releases the new stickers in capsules that people can open. These are often available for €1 before and during the major, but after the major they do a 75% sale for the items, which drops the price from €1 to 25 cents. Every major there are people buying in at the high price, which is totally unnecessary. Some people might think that they won't maybe do it this time, which will make you rich, but that is very wrong and a big mistake for your money. Valve sells 90% of the capsules after the sale, if not more, which means if they don't do a sale at all, they would lose a big portion of the money they would normally make. Even if they so desperately not wanted to do a sale, they would at least give people a time window to buy before it gets discontinued, so people will then buy the higher price without the sale. Them not doing a sale at all is very unlikely because they make a lot of money from the sale because people love buying something at a discount, and all of the recent majors have had a sale too. It would be a big risk for their really stable income source, which Valve desperately wants to keep. You never throw away a cash cow, since it costs very little money to keep up and it brings in a lot of money for you anyway. For the 8th biggest mistake, I have a mistake that I'm 99% sure you have made at least once in your life, if not multiple times. The only probable reason you could have that you didn't make this mistake at least once is if you live in the Netherlands or Belgium. It's opening CSGO cases. The key costs €2.50 nowadays and the blues you get are still very cheap. Plus, the cases are getting more and more expensive nowadays as well, especially the ones you actually want to open, like these older cases. I am actually so glad that I legally can't open cases due to the government, as I can see how tempting it can be to open a case with the bit of Steam balance you have left. Big tip from me, don't do it. And I know that is easier said than done, but it's still true. And I know it's hard to resist, but in an ideal situation you shouldn't use Steam to sell items anyway, more on that later in the video. You should think of it like this: if you have €3 to buy a case and a key from, Anytime you open a case, you're throwing away 35% of the value of that case and key just away, just gone. And that's in the best scenario. If you're opening a case like the breakout case or the glove case, you're losing way more of your money. But this means you're throwing away at least €1 or $1, about the same, away every time you open one case. That's on average, of course, but still. For the 7th biggest mistake people make when investing, we have investing in the short term. That might sound confusing, but it means the following. Don't buy an item if you expect it to go up in the next week. That often leads to a lot of problems. This often happens with FOMO spikes when a player resigns or stops playing the game in general. These things regularly happen and they often mean the price spikes, which causes people to buy in at an unsustainable high point, which causes a lot of people to get burned in the crash. Overall, the CSGO market has been a really easy market to make money in, and this is still true to this day. However, the only way to make a big loss is to get burned with short-term investing. Don't buy something that has just gone up a big amount, but instead wait for the price to return to normal. In 1 or 2 years you can accomplish a lot with your money. You don't need to rush it in 1 week. At that point, might as well put it on red and see what happens. For the 6th biggest mistake people often make when investing, I have a mistake that I have also made myself in a video. In my very first video all the way back, I opened 100 operation stars I had grinded for, and instead of getting 50 cases, which would have gotten me at least 30 bucks back then, but nowadays would be worth almost 60 or 70 bucks, I instead decided that it would be a good idea to open the surf shop stickers instead. It was still profitable after all because I got quite lucky, but if you want to make the most profit, the operation cases are a far better option. I know the skin collections are tempting, and if you just do the operation for fun anyway, go ahead by all means, but it isn't the most profitable option. Especially if you have a small budget for investing and you would like to do the operation and have time to grind all the stars, the operation cases are basically easy money for playing the game. Obviously not enough to make it worth your time, since minimum wage usually pays better, but this is playing the game you already love and this is not hard work. At number 5 we have a bit of a human-wide problem, since everyone gets this sometimes, even outside of the CSGO investing scene. It's the problem of having emotions. Of course, they are very useful in real life, but in CSGO investing they often get in the way of making the best possible decision. Imagine the following scenario. You have 10 breakout cases. They go up 30%, so you decide to sell, which is a reasonable decision. It basically means safe profit for you. But then after you sell, the item goes up another 30% and you're like, oh man, I shouldn't have sold. That is where the problem is, since you then decide to buy back in at the top. This is how humans see their decisions poorly. Even though it was smart to sell, your brain turns it into a mistake, since it could have been even more. If something has just gone up, you shouldn't buy it. That is a golden rule. Wait a day or two, the investment will not change, but the price will probably go back down. Or at least level off a bit, which is also good. In general, we are terrible at judging the best times to buy or sell stuff. That is just a human complex. We as CSGO investors need to accept that we can't buy and sell at the perfect times, and sometimes you are just going to miss out on something. That is just going to happen inevitably. As you get more experienced in this market, you will be able to feel the FOMO coming and you can ignore it more easily then, but that takes time and effort. The 4th biggest mistake you can make in CSGO investing is investing money that you can't afford to lose. If you put money into any investment, it should be money that you have for investing or for putting away, or in general just money that you don't need to pay rent or to buy food or anything else that you would need to survive. This only becomes worse with CSGO investing, since it is quite hard to sell something instantly, and if you have to panic sell something because you need the money, you will lose a big portion of the money itself. This is why you only ever invest what you can afford to lose, so if something goes wrong, the investment was bad, or even the unlikely scenario of the entire game dying, you will lose some money of course, but it won't ruin your life. Which would be nice, right? In the podium now we have the 3rd biggest mistake people often make, and it's timing the market wrong. People like buying items when they have just gone up, since it means they are able to trust the investment more, but this makes no actual sense. If something has just gone up in the past week or even the past month, it has less opportunity to grow up even more, which means there's less opportunity for you to make profit. On the contrary, if something is reliably growing over a month like this, it is actually very good and very safe, but that isn't the growth I mean. People often like to see sporadic spikes in price, but that is absolutely the worst time to buy. The actual best time to buy items is when a new operation has just dropped, since it dips prices due to people selling to buy stars and the pass. But during the operation, everyone wants the pass and the items from the operation, not the investments that we normally talk about. And that is the opportunity that you get. If you want to buy in at the best time in the market, just wait for the next operation and buy in a week after it drops. The same thing goes for selling as well. If some item has just gone up a fair bit, most people think, oh, it must be a very good investment, so I won't sell, even though in that moment you should sell the item. Once an item starts going down a bit again, people start to lose hope and are more willing to sell, even though it's a loss, and it would have been a lot better to sell when it was going up. Now for the second biggest mistake people make, I have a personal pet peeve of mine, since most people don't know that this is so important, and it hurts me deeply. The problem is not diversifying your investments well enough. The example from the intro is actually also a good example of this. Let's say you are a CSGO investor with a budget of $100 for a minute. You watched a video of a YouTuber talking about, for example, the clutch case and why it will be a good investment in the long term, so you buy about 400 clutch cases for cash and say, wow, now I'll be rich. This is the classic thing people love to do, but it is unnecessarily risky. You need to structure your portfolio in a certain way, where you have many different types of investments to make your investing less risky overall. If you have 100% of your budget in clutch cases and they crash in price, you lose a big percentage of your money. If you instead have 10% of your budget in 10 different cases each and the clutch case crashes in price, you only lose a few percent of your budget on that, and in the meantime the other cases will most likely have gone up, so you might not lose anything at all. Plus, this allows you to not worry too much about short-time price trends, but instead on the total value of your inventory going up over a long period of time, which makes your mindset more long-term minded. If you currently have a somewhat lopsided inventory, you don't need to worry. You can always reconsider things. After all, we are all here to learn. No one becomes perfect out of one day of practice. To be clear, there is no one-size-fits-all solution for everyone, but this is the split I would roughly use as an example. First off, about 40% of your budget should go to cases at least. If you want to do 50 or even 60% on cases, that is totally fine too. Cases are just really stable right now, so that's perfectly logical. 10% of that 40% can go to active duty cases like the fracture case or the snakebite case if you must, but no more than that. The other older rare cases are simply far safer. I don't want to go all in on cases, however, since that doesn't make it feel very safe if cases do go bad or anything happens to ruin their potential. We just want to cover as many possibilities as possible so that even if something terribly happens, we still are not poor. And with this 40% in cases, I don't mean 40% in one case. Ideally, you would choose a lot of different cases, depending on how much budget you have available. Next, I would have about 30% of your money in skins, which can be play skins as well as operation skins, but ideally a mix of the two. If you want to be safest, put roughly 20% of that money in old case skins or old operation skins that are from Shattered Web or older. The other 10% can be newer skins as well, although not necessary, but just don't pick the new cases that were just added, those won't see much growth yet. After that we have 30% left, of which I would put 10 to 15% in stickers or sticker capsules, and the rest could go to anything you don't have yet but still want in there, like agents, patches or other weird niche items that are a bit more of a gamble. To actually track this and check if you're doing this right, you can use Case Move. You can download it via the link in the description, but I will make a full tutorial on how to use it in the future, so subscribe so you don't miss that. Once you're in there, you can see your inventory, and most importantly, you can also see and also move around everything in your storage units outside of the game. This is my total inventory breakdown, which shows you how I have split it up. The first thing you might notice is that I have 63% in skins instead of in just investments. That is, however, because I also trade lots of different skins as a service, so that's different for me than it would be for you. That skews all my numbers numbers a bit. If we look further, we can see that I have 24% on cases, which is less than I advised you to have, but that's because of the trading. So the part of the budget that is for investing in is actually probably about 40% or maybe even a couple percent more in cases. This group of cases has been split up into basically any case that you could invest into right now, which makes it very safe for me. I also have some skin investments, like for example old operation skins like these. They are still quite reliable long term. Also, to give you an example of the weirder small percent of my budget, I have some items like this, for example the Shattered Web Pass or some weird sprays from the Shattered Web operation as well. The point is, buy various different items and different categories of items as well, not just cases or not just skins. And finally, the single biggest mistake people often make when investing in CSGO is buying and selling on Steam. The market is no longer small or hard to get into. There are plenty of places to buy and sell items nowadays. Just don't sell on Steam. They take 15% of the value of your item, and Steam wallet funds are not even real money that you can withdraw, so just don't. If you're able to get on buff 163, then that is a good place for selling one thing to get another thing, but not for cashing out. I can't really recommend one single place to cash out from, since there are so many options and this video isn't sponsored, but there are plenty of places you can sell to get a fee of 2.5% or less, so look for that if possible. Since you made it to the end of the video, I will give you a secret bonus mistake people often make. People often trade their items with websites that give very high fees on the trade, which causes you to lose a big percentage of the money your items are worth. Especially with trading, you don't need to take such high fees, so it's a good idea to get around this by instead trading with people, since they often have way lower fees. For example, you can trade with me. I have lots of items for trade, from really expensive play skins to really cheap ones, and almost all of the cases, a lot of agents, even stickers and even music discs. Check it out if you're interested, link is in the description. I have a default fee of only 2.5%, which is very low compared to some other places to trade items. Now you know some of the things that you shouldn't do in the CSGO market, but that doesn't answer the question of what you should do and how to go about investing your money in this game. In this video, I give you 10 tips you need to know if you want to be serious about investing in CSGO, so you don't take unnecessary risk and you don't lose too much of your money. Getting better in investing in CSGO is all about the knowledge, and that's what you get. If you're still watching, you are truly awesome. Thank you, goodbye.